Well, folks, things just got feisty on the Megyn Kelly show. She sat down with Ben Shapiro to break down the latest in the Epstein fallout. Yes, the creep that just won't go away. And this time, the sparks were flying from Pam Bondi's botched Epstein files rollout to whispers that FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino might be packing his bags. The Trump administration is catching serious heat. Megyn's demanding accountability, even from Team Trump, while Ben, he's brushing it all off as basically a big nothing burger. But what about that shady DOJ memo? What about the buried client list? What are they hiding? We watched it all go down, and now we're reacting to it. Let's get into it next.
And that's the reason why Dan is upset.
I think you're trusting the conclusions of that memo and a decision made by our administration to move past this far too much. I mean, I'm pro-Trump. I'm a Trump supporter, but I think they've made a decision that they want to put this in the rear view. You think it's because there's absolutely no there, and you're crediting that claim. And I have doubts about whether that's true.
I mean, that's fine. And again, I'm open to doubts about whether that's true. But I think that once you have the doubts about whether they are lying to you, that's a different thing. Is it incompetence or lying? I mean, that really is the question, is it not?
You don't think even the Trump administration is capable of lying to the public because they think it's for the greater good? They think there's a solid reason to do it?
I'm wondering what they are lying about and what the lies would be. So again, I think in your middle scenario,
but you just answer my question. Do you think they're capable of doing it if they think it's for the greater good?
I think anybody is capable of lying if they think that it's for the greater good, of course. But I think that in order to answer the question of whether they are doing that, we would have to determine what greater good is being pursued and what the lie is. I think all of this is a little vague.
Well, that's why some of us are still asking questions. I'm not in the business of covering for any administration, Republican or not.
Megyn, not all the questions are the same.
What the hell is this? You have the former Israeli prime minister living in your house. You have had all this contact with the foreign government. Were you working on behalf of Mossad? Were you running a blackmail operation on behalf of a foreign government?
And there's another one, SOT 3. Play that, follow up.
And I think the truth, for whatever it's worth, in case you're interested, is that the DOJ didn't release lots of incriminating sex videos with Epstein and his billionaire pals because they don't have them. They don't have them because when the original search warrant was served, 2007, I think, it was basically designed to protect Epstein. The search warrant was written in such a way to make sure that the feds never got their hands on the actually incriminating evidence. The real question is, why was he doing this, on whose behalf, and where did the money come from? And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American. And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. It's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that. There's nothing.
All right, let's get into it. What's up, everybody? It is Monday, and it's time for Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-host. Of course, we have Yana, Nicole Bennett.
Hey, y'all.
And Shelly E. All right. Again, before we light this fire, do your part. Tap that thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and turn on your notifications. We have a goal to hit 200,000 subscribers by Labor Day. We can only do it with your help. So please, folks, as you come in, hit that like button. It helps to get us out in front of a wider audience, and subscribe. We're live here on YouTube and Rumble under the name Pop and Politics. Also, you can catch us if you're on the go on Apple Podcast or Spotify. We love our chat. I can see the chat is on fire already. I really want to hear from you all. What do you think about this whole Epstein fallout? Do you agree with Megyn? Do you agree with Ben Shapiro? Do you want it to go away? Let us know. Drop your thoughts in the chat. And so we shout out every super chat. That is the best way to get your voice heard in the conversation, and also to show the mainstream media that we're here. We're here, and we want to know what's going on because they don't want us to exist. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, ladies, let's set it off. Want to go to you first, Shelly. What are your thoughts on all of this Epstein fallout? Now, that was just a clip of Megyn's interview with Ben Shapiro. I do encourage you all, if you haven't done so, to check out the full 20 minutes of her exchange with him. But what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are these. Number one, I have come to the conclusion, in my never to be humble opinion, that I believe Epstein, whatever his name is, was an intel asset. And not only just because of the recent events, but way back in the mid-2000s when he was not prosecuted for the sex charges in the sex case that Mr. Acosta sort of swept under the carpet, the charges were dropped. I believe he was. However, I want to add this. I think, in my never to be humble opinion, that he was working for not just one, not Mossad, but multiple, possibly 3 or more intel agencies. What do you call it? An asset, a double agent, a counter agent, whatever the case may be. And number 3, I have started asking, can one really become a billionaire without some shenanigans and shadiness going on? I don't know. These are some questions I have, but I do know one thing. This particular case is bigger than just Epstein, whatever you want to call him. It's bigger because I believe it will bring down some governments and some people along with it.
Wow. So Nicole, I mean, people are saying, especially within MAGA, it's really split. Some people are saying, we don't want to talk about this. We want to, focus on the midterms. But President Trump did promise this in his campaign. Phase 1 was supposed to be the beginning of transparency. Instead, it feels like deja vu. The DOJ pumped the brakes. The FBI issued a vague statement, and the list is still sealed. So what's going on? What are your thoughts on all of it?
So for me, I have a different perspective on this whole thing. It's a luxury to be Epstein-centric and crazed and foaming at the mouth like Megyn Kelly. That just tells me that the administration has done such a good job on the economy, on immigration, on reducing inflation, that we have the luxury to wallow about some man who's dead, who's already paid off 200 women for whatever happened on that island, quote unquote, paid his penalty to society as much as billionaires pay their penalty to society. I think it's a good look for the administration that people are focused on this and not really worried about their pocketbooks. But with all of that said, he was a creep. Whether he was Mossad, CIA, whoever he was, God bless his soul, he was an absolute creep. And I have no doubt that wherever he is, he's roasting over an open flame, lightly sprinkled with garlic salt. This dude is toast in history. I know that releasing names that they do have may plunge the world into chaos. So this is a value-based decision. Is it worth releasing these names and plunging an already world that he's working hard to calm down into absolute chaos to feed the gossip monster here in the United States and abroad? Is it worth it? For a man who's long dead, his estate has about 1.3 million left in it. Not a lot of money assets to go after. And let's say Zelensky's on the list. Let's say Bill Clinton's on the list. Let's just, for kicks and belly laughs, let's just say all of Great Britain's leadership is on the list. Then what?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you there, Nicole. Yana, I want to get your thoughts on this. I mean, I feel like, this is sort of like, it's like, somebody, telling you something's coming. Remember when you were younger and your parents were saying, I have a surprise for you this weekend, and you've been waiting for that surprise. You're counting down to that surprise. Your parents have been kind of planting little things for you throughout the week. You're waiting for that Saturday. And then when Saturday gets there, there's no surprise. And this was sort of like what President Trump did. I mean, back in June 2024, he was on Fox News where he said he would consider declassifying the DOJ and FBI files on Epstein if he was reelected. He said at his rallies and interviews, he repeatedly criticized Democrats for hiding the Epstein files, and he declared he would release the full files to expose elite wrongdoing. I mean, then we go back to Pam Bondi after DOJ stated no client list existed. Trump defended Pam Bondi on Truth Social. So, I mean, now they're telling us to move on after years of promising that we were going to get to the bottom of this. Is it fair to say, MAGA, there's no vacation coming?
Probably not. And I honestly was looking for the JFK files more than this. I mean, that's just for me. And I don't understand what's going on with that. So I'm still looking for all the other files. And I have to agree with Shelley and Nicole here that there's, with Shelley, that there's a lot more maybe organizations, people involved. I think Epstein actually worked for himself. I think he was a sole agent. He was, from what I found out about him, he was extremely intelligent. He was definitely a creep, but he was also extremely intelligent. And I think he was working for himself. He had information on people. He had money. He had financial information, but he also, eventually acquired these files, incriminating files on people. And it's possible that he was using that to make more money, to extort, to manipulate people. And so, yeah, I disagree with Tucker Carlson there that it has to be Israel. Like, why necessarily right away it's Israel when he was friends with Bill Clinton?
He didn't get millions of money from Bill Clinton.
How about Saudi?
There's a paper trail of money that he got from high government officials in Israel. Ghislaine Maxwell's what was it, her father, I believe?
Yep.
Was a ex-Mossad agent. I mean, he has a lot of ties with Israelis and government there.
Maxwell is connected, and her father possibly, but that doesn't mean that he was working for the organization. It could be human beings. Now, another thing, it's just my hunch, and I'm just going to say it because who knows, maybe in the future things will come out. Since we're throwing out any type of conspiracy possible here, I was just reading and just really reading about him and getting into his life. I'm going to say he is still alive.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean,
and that is why we don't have his files, because something came out. He is still alive, and he still got stuff on people that even our government doesn't have.
It could be. And folks, so I just gotta say, I mean, we are all, again, we are huge supporters of President Trump and his agenda. He's been doing a phenomenal job, with getting boys out of girls' sports, closing the border, getting the Department of Education underway. He's passed all the tax cuts. I mean, it's a phenomenal agenda. However, that doesn't mean I can't ask what's going on with this. And the reason why I want to know is because something like this can happen again. So if we don't get to the bottom of this, over 1,000 victims, countless accomplices, millions and millions of dollars. I mean, they went after Diddy for something less. So I feel like, again, for those who say, well, I get we don't want to make a big hoopla out of this, but we weren't the ones who talked about it. It was President Trump himself who talked about this. So I don't see, I think we can do both.
Okay, exactly. We can do both. And for those who say that I can't, whatever, I will. I have said I have voted for President Trump three times, gladly, proudly, on purpose, no regrets. But that never usurps my right, my ability, my thinking. If I want to think something that doesn't go along with some Republican or conservative agenda, I've always said that. I've been clear about that. Some conservatives get mad at me when I say things like that, but that's okay. That's the facts, and it doesn't mean that I'm anti-Semitic or I'm even anti-USA for goodness sake. No, it does not. It just means that I have questions, or that maybe many of us have questions. I'm not speaking for anyone in particular, but that just means that there are other questions. Does it mean that my conclusions are correct? No, but I am thinking and having questions that I will ask. And it's not about offending someone. Not only that, if we say that we can't ask questions about this, then we should not awaken, if you will, the JFK files, the MLK files, and any other quote unquote conspiracy in American history or Israeli history or any other history. Then we should not ask those questions either. We should let those sleeping men lie in their graves and burn all the papers or whatever is associated with them. Then that's what we would have to do.
Yeah. So we'll wait and see. I mean, again, Dan Bongino right here in Maryland still, unless you guys have heard something, there was some rumblings about him over the weekend, that he was upset by all this, that he possibly may be resigning. Now, I've heard since that I don't think he's resigning, but he still has not come forward with a response, at least from last I checked, since we started this broadcast. Mm-hmm. So, we'll wait and see. We certainly will wait and see and see what happens. But you guys are sounding off in the chat, so we definitely see your thoughts there, and appreciate every comment. You again, your super chats go a long way in helping us produce conservative content. Any amount is appreciated. But it's the bottom line is, if you're tired of being lied to by the people, and this is what a lot of us were talking about under the Biden administration, under the Obama administration, we were tired of being lied to, and we elected President Trump for transparency, not just from his administration, but also through the agencies, in government, and so on and so forth. And he's been doing a great job. But you know what? We the people demand more. And I don't see anything wrong with that. So please, if we demand answers, we demand names, because justice delayed for Epstein's victims is justice denied for all of us. And don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe to stay informed and stay bold as we are, as you all know we are. All right. So moving right along, want to get into this next segment. And again, talking about accountability, talking about going back to old, previous issues and events, the Biden autopen bombshell. We want clarity. We want transparency on that. Joe Biden's presidency just took another shady turn, and this time it involves pardons, fake signatures, and a scandal that's blowing wide open. The Oversight Project just exposed that thousands of executive actions and pardons were signed not by Biden, but by a machine. And now it turns out even his top aides were running the show behind his back. This is bigger than Watergate. At least it has the potential to be bigger. Take a look. This is clip 2.
Look, the autopen, I think, is maybe one of the biggest scandals that we've had in 50 to 100 years. This is a tremendous scandal. And I know the people on the other side of the, see that desk, that Resolute desk? Unfortunately, he used it before me. But, we have our choice of 7 desks. They're all beautiful, but I chose the Resolute, and so did he, unfortunately. But the people on the other side of the Resolute desk, I know them. Lisa, the whole group, and they're no good. They're sick people. And I guarantee you he knew nothing about what he was signing. I guarantee it.
All right, there you have it. So Big story came out of the New York Times today, a piece where Biden's pardons of the January 6th committee were signed by autopen at the direction of an assistant. We have that here. This is part of that New York Times piece. His aides used the autopen, a mechanical signature device, to sign clemency orders, executive orders, and pardons. This includes 6 criminal pardons while Biden was vacationing in St. Croix in December 2022. Not a single wet signature in sight. Shelley, what are your thoughts on this issue?
My thoughts are, I think, number one, this definitely needs to continue to be investigated. Number one. Number two, if there is any legal, maybe executive way, congressional way to rescind those pardons, it needs to be done. At least to put them in a hold status, if you will, so that this can be further investigated. This is another scandal, if you will. Okay. I mean, unfortunately, scandals don't only happen under presidents that we don't tend to like. Okay, they have been happening for time since time began, and certainly in the history of our country. And I love America, but that's just the facts. But this certainly is a scandal. This is treasonous. Okay, our autopen system, if you will, or the person that we elected or that was elected to sit in that office was out to lunch, literally and figuratively, or he certainly was out to get ice cream cones and riding the bikes on the beach somewhere. But nevertheless, we have people who are pardoned all for political reasons. And granted, every president has pardoned someone for political reasons, including my love, President Trump. Okay, nevertheless, this is treasonous because he was not there mentally. We don't know what the hell. He doesn't even know what he signed, if he signed anything. But we have these unelected bureaucrats. Not only that, this goes to show further, not just about Epstein, but in general, the state is deep. The swamp is deep. This is why we call it the deep state. It almost doesn't even matter who is in the executive office. The people in the trenches and the bureaucrats way down deep in the belly of the swamp have almost, in a sense, as much as, if not more power than the elected officials.
Wow. Yeah. Nicole, so, Neera Tanden's explosive testimony, she admitted she was authorized to direct the autopen from October 2021 to May 2023. Is this red flags? Do you think that there needs to be more investigation into this?
Investigation, probably not so much, or they're just sitting around talking. I think they need to bring the case, right? They need to bring Fauci. They need to press the charge and see what the court does. See what the court is going to say about the American people versus Joe Biden and his staff and this autopen. This is the only way we're going to get clarity on if an autopen signature made by someone's assistant of an assistant, right? Because the assistant made the call, but the assistant to that assistant actually activated the pen. So does that mean, 6 people down the road, that Joe Biden actually knew what he was doing? So let's bring the case. I don't think there's an American anywhere that thinks Fauci did anything good to forward this nation. Let's bring a case against him for treason. That would be my charge, but pick one. Any one of the charges you can pick. Throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks. If we can get Fauci, which should be an easy get, then Liz Cheney and all the rest of the dominoes should fall. But the only way we're going to figure out the legality of this is to press the case.
All right, Yana. I mean, if aides are using the president's name to approve actions without his sign off, could this be unconstitutional?
Yeah. I mean, the whole Biden presidency was unconstitutional. He should have not been president. We have survived this presidency. We were here. We were reporting that entire time. And it was probably the worst time of my life in America during that time. It was literally, we lived through dictatorship those 4 years. And that's why I'm hoping that Nicole is right, that we're able to bring these cases so we're not going to be a dictatorship. Because from when I hear these things, it really brings me back to, I don't know, the Soviet Union, when we had issues in the government. People knew about it. People talked about it. but nothing was being done. And that is the kind of feeling that I've had since the Biden administration about these issues. The fact that preemptive pardoning was happening during his administration, like, how crazy is that? That is like some sort of total totalitarian control that they had of the government. And we had a bionic president. We really didn't have a real person there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with each of you. If Biden didn't personally approve those pardons and his own aides are pleading the fifth or skipping depositions, we have a constitutional crisis on our hands. And as we said before, the American people deserve answers. I want answers. I want it all. Okay, who's running this country, or who was running it? And because we all know from the way Biden was toward the end of his presidency and right now, he couldn't run a corner store in Baltimore City. Okay, so we need answers, and we want to know, and I want to see investigations. I want to see investigations. I want to bring Fauci in, bring Liz Cheney in. I want them all coming in, and I want answers, because we need to get to the bottom of it. Simple as that. So, folks, if you agree, if you want answers on this, again, because as we know, the last 4 years where it was a living hell, and it did go against, even Biden, although he was a Democrat, he wasn't as left as he was the last 4 years in his entire campaign life, or entire political life, I should say. So something was wrong, and we want to get to the bottom of it. If you agree, hit that like button as you all come in. Hit the like button and subscribe. Our goal is to hit 200,000 subscribers by Labor Day, and we need your help. The mainstream media doesn't want us to get there, but we will get there with patriots like you. So hit that like button, share this on your social media platform, and subscribe. All right, we have a super chatter here, I believe. All right, yes, Laura says elder abuse. Absolutely, Laura. And Jill Biden, she needs to get it too. So we would really want to get to the bottom of this, and prayerfully we will. All right, moving right along to Bill Maher talking about Democrats. Well, this time he clashed with actor John Leguizamo after he argued there's plenty of room for more immigrants in the U.S. Take a look. This is clip 1.
Part of this is a backlash to how badly Biden handled the immigration situation. It can't just be like come one, come all, which
Dude,
it was.
There's plenty of room here, and we need
room.
There's plenty of room in America. Come on, there's not a lack of room in America.
But it's never about room. It's about resources, and about like having countries have to have a border. It just can't be. I mean, they've done surveys, and something like 200 million people around the world, when asked, would you come to America if you could? Yes, I would. Why wouldn't they? Lots of countries, are shitholes. Right. And they would love to be here. You can't
right. The places aren't shitholes, but.
Well, they are. That's why they want to come.
And it's usually because of America. What America's done, especially in Latin America, has beat up every democracy that was burgeoning in Latin America. They destroyed it to keep their oil or their resources or bauxite or bananas.
Like, if you don't really have rights, like as far as like women's rights in most majority Muslim countries, women just don't have close to the rights we have here. If you can't dress the way you want, if you are in a country where there's just extreme poverty.
Right, but the thing is that the immigrants that are coming here are building the country. They're the essential workers.
They are.
They're the first responders. They're doing all your construction, painting, plumbing, raising all your food, cooking all your food, serving all your food.
Kids, taking care of your kids.
Taking care of your kids. We do all the work that nobody wants to do and keeps the country going.
Wow. All right. We got to get into that. And I agree with John Leguizamo. Bill Maher went too far with calling these countries, these third world countries shitholes. Take away the shit and just call them buttholes. Then that way people won't, take it in a bad way. We're not saying it's shitty. We're just saying it's the whole of the ass. and nobody, it's stinking. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to live there, and that's why they're coming here. Shelley, what are your thoughts there?
See, again, let me say this. This goes back to what I've said repeatedly. People like John Leguizamo, they come to our country, or maybe he was born here. I can't remember which, if his parents were here and he was born here. But they come here and they try to change it to what they left or what their ancestors left, number one. Number two, what do you mean? People come here and it's because of America tearing up Venezuela and whatever other country in Latin America. No, it's because you have communist or maybe Marxist governments. You have governments that are dictators and they don't have many rights for the people. Go in Iran, just like Bill Maher was alluding to. These people don't want to do any good here. They want to change America into whatever vision of hell that they just left. I don't understand that. It's this psychosis to me. It's absolute lunacy that they want to do that. And then not only that, we are paying for immigrants, certainly illegals, which is upward of $100+ billion and more that we Americans, you, KJ, Nicole, Yana, myself, all of our listeners and our audience, that we are paying for to the detriment of our own dollars, our own lifestyle, and our own savings, our own children's needs and families' needs. This is ridiculous. This is preposterous. Bill Maher was absolutely correct. If you don't like our country, if you want to even change it to something that you just left, how about you just don't come? Or if you're here, go leave. Do like Rosie O'Donnell did. Take your herpy ass, the cesspool you just left, and go to Ireland or wherever Rosie is and go and be friends with her.
Yeah, Nicole, I didn't like the part where he said that these people are coming in here from their butthole countries, and then they're doing the cooking and the cleaning, and that's why we need them. Well, where are the people who used to do that here? So is he saying that it's okay to displace people from their jobs? Or is it really like he said, where the Americans don't want to do these jobs and we need these buttholes?
You know what? Let me just say the quiet part out loud. If we were having, let's say, Africans from African nations showing up in our country by the millions, would John Leguizamo be saying, oh, we got plenty of room, roll them on in? Of course not. First, and KJ, I have to disagree with you, not butthole countries, but swamp ass countries. Okay? These are swamp ass countries. They sticky and shitty all over the place. And if it was not, they wouldn't be risking life and limb to come here. This is what Democrats do to Republican states. They bring their Democrat politics with them, and they try to change the state into something that in their mind, they think this is a utopia. So we have these migrants coming here doing the same thing. Been here 30 years and don't speak a lick of English. How does that happen? Thank God for Donald Trump and this administration finally making English the official language of this nation. Finally.
Right. And you saw where he put out an order today where now he's removing, you hit one for English, two for Spanish. He's removing the two. So now when you call places, you got to speak English or you're out of luck.
Absolutely.
It's about time. It's really is about time. But, I get what John Leguizamo is trying to do, is saying, well, these people aren't hurting us. These people are helping us. The truth of the matter is, this is not your grandfather's group of Mexicans that, if something tore down, you could call 3 of them and they build it back up again. That's not what we're dealing with here. What we're dealing with is human trafficking, drugs, gangs. These are the people that we're trying to get out of here. And people say, well, what about the people who work the farms? We got 10-year-olds working on marijuana farms.
Oh, no.
10.
That's terrible.
10. The hell out of here. Let me tell you something. Lock up that border tight like we have been and keep packing them up. I don't care how much they complain about being in detention. We've offered you a way to get out of here. We've offered you a free trip to anywhere you want to go. We've offered you $1,000 to get your stuff and get out of here. At some point, all of the goodies are going to go away. All the carrot is going to go away, and all you're going to have left is stick. So please hear me when I say stick is coming. Stick is coming for you. Pack your family up and go on about your business. You don't have to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. You can't stay, not near another minute. Gotta go.
Yana, part of his interview, he did go on to say how the current immigration system is very tough, very difficult. It's hard to become legal. You know, you have to pay a lot of money. It takes years upon years for legal to go through the legal immigration process. What do you say to that when people say, and that's why we should have more leniency and compassion for illegals?
Well, it shouldn't be easy. But we have a problem here that yes, legal immigration takes time. It's not that easy. And then we have people crossing the border, which becomes easier in a way for them than going through the legal process. So we have to fix the border issue, the illegal crossing, and then have paths to legal immigration where America benefits from those people. And one of them could be these worker visas and things like that, you know, even low skilled worker visas. So, but just to address this whole interview, I don't even understand why Bill Maher is having a debate with this guy. When this guy is like he's not intelligent. And he's also being, he's not being honest. He is hypocritical. So, and he and a lot of people on the left. So he says things like, well, one of the things that he's blaming, so basically he's saying that these countries, the so-called shithole countries are like that because of America. So now let's let these people in. So these people blame America for their problems. And then they're coming here. And are they going to be supportive of America when they come here? When they hate America already inside their countries and blame America for all their problems? Now they're coming here and they're being parasitic. That's what they are. They're parasites when they have that kind of mentality. You don't come here with that kind of mentality and be helpful to this country. You can't be if you have that kind of mentality. Then he also says, oh, these people working the jobs that Americans don't want to do. It's because they're working under minimum wage. So the left are advocating for higher and higher minimum wage. And then they're also advocating for the illegals to stay illegal. Like, how ridiculous is that? They get paid like maximum $10 an hour for whatever jobs they're doing. The leftists are claiming that should be paid $20. So like, it just doesn't compute. And they're not making any sense. So the whole thing needs to be fixed. The workers who are truly want to work and be productive and not blame America for their problems, they can apply for visas and stay here and work. That should be the system. But to say that we just don't like immigrants altogether because we don't want illegals, you're just not being honest at this point.
Yeah, very good points. And actually, one point that you brought up, I want to ask you, Nicole, about that. What do you say to people? Because that is something that a lot of the left, they do. They say that we are colonizers and we go over to these third world countries or less non-advanced industrialized countries, and we prey on their resources and then leave them in disarray. And this is why they have become butthole countries. And so this is why you see these mass migrations to the United States, because we have caused the chaos and the pillage in their countries. What are your thoughts on that?
So there are countries in the world where the United States has not done any bad acting. And I'm not saying that we haven't done that. So, you know, there are privileges to being the most responsible nation on the planet, right? When you're the only big dog, every now and again, you got to snatch somebody else's bone. Let's just leave it out where it is. However, there are nations that were struggling already. Let's take a look, for example, at Haiti. It's right off the coast of Florida. Has not had its shit together since the pirates lived there. Do you know what I mean? They've struggled. They've had internal struggles. Then Bill Clinton and his wife happened upon them and really set them back. Now we have a huge migration of Haitians to the mid-Atlantic part of the United States. Do they assimilate? No, they don't. They do not assimilate well. So what do? We give them an app that says just put a name in it and you can come to the United States. That was Joe Biden's thing. So what do we do now with these people who won't assimilate and they really technically don't have a nation to go back to? There's lawlessness. There are gangs running the street that patrol each little street a different way and all of that kind of thing. What do we do with them? What is the humanitarian thing to do with these people? Do they have resources we need? No, they do not. Their greatest resource, and I say this about any nation, including the United States, our greatest resource is our people. Mm-hmm. Here's my theory. If we send everybody back to their own homeland, work on your homeland. And this is going to sound incredibly racist, but know my heart, y'all. If all of the people like Leguizamo who are shouting out for Latin American countries to have their people stay here because they're hard workers and so terrific and grow the food, cook the food, wash the clothes, watch the kids. Imagine what that nation would be like if they all packed their stuff up and went back to their home nation. Right. Maybe we wouldn't be the only world superpower.
Yeah. And another thing, when you go to a lot of the Caribbean islands, you want to talk about colonizer. The big colonizer in these places is China. Mm-hmm. China, the CCP is buying up all kinds of land. They're taking over all kinds of resources in the Caribbean. And you don't see these people going to China. They're coming here instead. So again, this has been going on from the beginning of time. And you brought up a very good point, Nicole. Stay and fight for your own land. Exactly.
I want to add to this, KJ. Take Africa. Haiti is a good point too, Nicole. Africa. There are two writers, researchers, authors, Dambisa Moyo and Maget Wade. Both of them are African women, brilliant, here in America, business people, things like that. They have both been writing and talking about stop giving aid to Africa. It's not doing what the intended goals are, or at least what the paper goals say. So that's number one. Yes, the U.S. may have been partners or complicit in maybe helping, or at least not doing good or overall good, but the intentions are always, let's do good. We're going to help these people. We're going to do whatever. And the aid never gets to where it's supposed to get, and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. One of these things that many of these, if not all of these countries, these butthole countries have in common is the type of government they have, or the type of government they don't have. Mm-hmm. Many of them, if not all of them, are not based on a capitalist system. They don't make it business friendly. They don't have ways for their people to become independently wealthy or make money productively. That's what they don't have. And then for whatever reason, their government wants aid, particularly from the United States. We have this big money bag we take from the American people and give it all over the damn world. And then when we want to account for it, we're being stingy and incompassionate. So there's a whole lot to this. I used to think years ago about, America goes in there and we colonize and just take their resources. No, it's not that. It's not like that at all. We might go with quote unquote good intentions, but we still should be wiser than what we have been doing. We've been wasting a lot too, or allowing a lot of resources to be wasted because, again, these big international global organizations, WEF, IMF, these are the people who go in and pillage and rape these countries in conjunction with their communist, dictator, Marxist, non-capitalist governments.
Absolutely, folks. I see you all chiming off in the chat. We have some super chatters here. Thank you so much. All right, MT with the $5 super chat. Says, I want the list, but I want my country to be saved even more. Tucker's speech was devious and subversive. Rather, Trump fix things than get JFK'd by CIA. All right. Thank you so much. Very good point. Jessica with the $10 super chat. Says, please pray for Mackenzie. I just saw on TWC that a tropical storm is going to hit across the top half of Florida after midnight. She's at summer camp there. I'm helpless and can't get to her in time. We will have her in our prayers.
Hold her up in prayer. It's storming like I don't know what here at my house. You guys see me looking over to the side. I'm using a generator, but the thunder is so loud. I thought you could hear it on the microphone. It's like boom.
No, this is that time of year. We're praying for everyone. Everyone is safe and secure and dry. And we pray that your daughter gets safe to safety. Your daughter Mackenzie. All right. Kung Fu CJ says Nicole hit the nail on the head. Yes, absolutely. Nicole is always hitting that head. So thank you so much, folks, for your super chats here. They do go a long way in helping us produce conservative content. Any amount is appreciated, and we thank you. Folks, as we always say, our goal is to hit 200,000 subscribers by Labor Day. So that is our goal here. So we need your help. Hit that like button and subscribe. All right. So moving right along, speaking of immigrants, have you guys been looking at what's happening in Minneapolis? Minneapolis is on the verge of going full socialist. So Democrat state senator and proud DSA member Omar Fatah just launched his campaign for mayor, and his platform reads like a radical leftist wish list: ban ICE, defund the police, rent control, abortion tourism, and taxpayer-funded gender surgeries. So you thought things in Minneapolis couldn't get worse. Buckle up. Take a look. This is him on clip 6.
Everyone keeps asking me, Omar, why aren't you doing more videos? As a state senator with a second full-time job and a kid on the way, I just haven't been able to find the time. I've also been fighting for you, passing things like tuition-free college for working-class families, rideshare protections for our Uber and Lyft drivers, and the legalization of fentanyl testing strips. But this summer, you're going to be seeing a lot more of me, because we deserve nice things in Minneapolis too. To make an affordable Minneapolis that works for everyone, we need a mayor that works as hard as you do. I'm ready to work hard to 1. Build a Minneapolis that working people can afford to call home. 2. Protect our city from a hostile White House. And 3. Diversify our city's public safety response. By increasing the minimum wage to $20 by 2028 and passing rent stabilization to stop price gouging and incentivizing new construction, we can protect workers. Protecting all of our communities from Donald Trump means not letting MPD interact with ICE, whether it's for an immigration raid or not. Our residents deserve a mayor that will stand up to Donald Trump and say, no, not in our community. Did you know that the city's own data showed that 47% of calls to MPD can be diverted to non-police response? Cops aren't social workers. Investments in programs like these ensure that the appropriate response arrives when we call 911. And we can actually free up police resources to focus on violent crime that detracts from community safety.
Wow. All right, let's get into this lady. So who is this guy? It's Omar Fatah. He's a Democrat out of Minnesota. He's a state senator, District 62. He's a self-identified Democratic socialist. And guess who he's best friends with? Mom Dami from New York City, who just won the Democrat mayoral candidacy there. So now this guy is running for mayor of Minneapolis with the same kind of socialist national goals. And he's promoting far left causes under the guise of course, equity and diversity. Nicole, what are your thoughts on this guy?
You know, he very much sounds like Zam Dammit. I'm gonna keep calling him that. The sad thing about it is when I think back to when Barack Obama was dropping these massive amounts of people in clusters around the United States, no one saw this coming. That we would actually lose whole states to people who don't have the United States' best interest at heart. I'm starting to think that we were played on a very, very large scale. He pulled on America's heartstrings and said, oh, these Somalis, they're having a rough time. We gotta step in. It's like he picked up a whole country and dropped it in America's heartland. And it is absolutely disgusting. What has happened there, what this man intends to do is simply roll out socialist policies. simply. And then there'll be like Astoria, Queens in New York, where they have the Muslim police to drive around to make sure people aren't drinking or women are dressed appropriately with cars that look just like police cars. And this is outrageous here in the United States. I need people to stop and think about, if we don't save our nation now, we're going to look a whole lot like Britain. We're going to look a whole lot like Europe, where our votes don't count. They're going to be in control. We're all going to be sitting here in burqas. You know, it's just going to be eyes. If they let us on the internet, this is going to be crazy. This is going to be absolutely insane. So we need to stomp out this stuff now. I'm all in for freedom of speech. Make no mistake, he's got the right, absolute right to say what he wants. But I'm also all down for consequences of said freedom of speech. We cannot allow this to happen here. We need people to turn out and vote and make sure that neither one of these quote unquote democratic socialists get anywhere near a seat of power.
Absolutely. We have a super chatter here, Chadwick, with the $10 super chat. Thank you, Chadwick. He says, just got word our daughter is flooded out in New Jersey. Some of these photos she is sending are crazy. Yeah, we got a massive storm hitting here, folks. Praying for her and for everyone. Please hope everyone's safely and sheltered. Dallas says, thoughts on Trump supplying weapons to NATO to UA. Any thoughts there, ladies?
Ooh. I'm just so ready for that war to be over.
Yeah.
I'm up to here with it. It's
now, he did say we weren't paying. It's actually going to be paid by NATO, right? They're paying for it. We won't.
Because supposedly they have increased a higher percentage. They're paying a higher percentage.
I would prefer for us not to spend any money and not another nickel on any of this foolishness. I've had enough. At some point, you know, someone is going to have to take the bull by the horns and say, listen here, fellas, what's going to end up happening is you're both going to run out of young men to kill. And then what? Then what?
Yeah. Kung Fu CJ with the $2 super chat says, this fool said legalize fentanyl. Yes, he did.
No, he actually said legalize fentanyl test strips.
Oh, right. Okay.
For fentanyl. You know, we tried that in Maryland when they were back when they were a penny a strip. You know, all of the people were saying, we got to get them. And what they did a couple of pilot programs. And what they found out is that the addicts weren't using it to test their heroin to find out if it had fentanyl. They were testing to make sure it had fentanyl in it.
That's it. That's a risk with everything.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they initially they moved to legalize drugs, though. That's been kind of a Democrat talking point for many, many years. So Josh Winston with the $50 super chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
He says, hey, ladies, so many excellent points tonight. I totally hate MAGA divisions, but I totally agree with Shelley that we voted decisively to not be lied to. We voted to be able to think critically and to question our leaders, even the ones we love. All right, Josh, thank you so much. You're absolutely right there. Yes. So let's get back to this guy. I mean, Yana, so he's talking about dismantling the police again. We hadn't heard that since 2020. He said he plans to replace police with social workers and community responders. Again, he repeats the defund the police narrative that has pretty much already devastated Minneapolis. What are your thoughts there?
He's going to say anything to get him elected. Omar Fatah is actually from Fairfax County, Virginia.
Oh,
he was technically my neighbor. I wouldn't be surprised if I know some of his siblings or cousins. He's younger than me, but I might know people that are related to him because there's a huge Somali community. He went to the same university I went to. I just looked him up and I'm not surprised. There's a huge Arab Somali community and they're very connected with the Minneapolis community. They always go back and forth. And also something about Somalia is that between 1969 and 1991, Somalia was run by a communist leader that a lot of Somalis supported. because he was in good relations with the Soviet Union. He got support from the Soviet Union, financial support, education, and there was relative freedom, you would say, if you could compare it to the Islamic State that eventually set in, and chaos that set in. So a lot of immigrants, or actually there were refugees that came here from Somalia, and probably his parents were in that batch. They were supportive of that leader, Mohammed Siad Barre, in Somalia. And so they were brought up actually supporting socialism, supporting communism, and that's how they raised their children. So it's not surprising that a lot of these Somalis, they think that they're doing this great thing by, promoting socialism, but they don't know what they're talking about. It's like part of their, it's like the way they believe in Islam, they will also believe in socialism. And he's just going to say that anything that will get him elected. And there's a huge Somali population in Minneapolis, and I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a mayor there.
Wow. Yeah, Shelley. I mean, again, as we always say, this is Marxism 101. Eliminate law enforcement, stir unrest, and insert state-approved community enforcers to control thought and behavior. What are your thoughts on this guy?
I would slightly disagree with Yana in that he might be saying whatever he's saying, believe it or not, but he believes it, and this is what he's advocating for. He has no fear, no qualms, no doubts to say that whatever he's saying, what he believes. And yes, what he is saying, the democratic socialism or whatever, I'm going to call it the Islamization of America, from Zamdami, I can never pronounce his name, Mandami, to this guy Omar. And I would point you to Ayaan Hirsi Ali. She has been warning America for years about Muslims coming here in the UK, in Western countries, in Germany, here in the United States, of course, and they are taking over. This is a part of the plan to Muslimize, I'm making that word up, and Islamize America, starting with the cities. These people are not afraid to go out and tell you that they are democratic socialists and they want to defund the police. Again, it's happening in New York City. I hope these people are not voted in. Yes, what's her name? Ilhan Omar is from the Midwest, in that area. So they have connections. They have political connections. Our officials who are elected, they connect with them and they build up their communities. They're basically making, in my never to be humble opinion, tribes within the American continent, within U.S. soil. They're making their own little tribes and they're working outward from there to convert. I'm using that word on purpose, to convert their community members and bring them in to this ideology under the guise of democratic socialism, when in my never to be a humble opinion, it's a leeway to be Muslimized. That's what I'm calling. I'm making that word up.
Wow. Yeah, we have some super chatters here. Folks, thank you all so much. All right, let's see here. We have Alpha Buckeye. Says, unfortunately, there is no saving blue states. Red states must pass massive amounts of legislation. Okay, to ensure conservative legislation to ensure OMARs are shut down at the city level. All right. 100%. Yeah. I mean, another thing that has really started to get a lot of play and support amongst these socialists, these Marxists, these leftists, is rent control. I can't even believe it. So he, along with Mondummy, proposed sweeping rent control, a policy that discourages development, destroys local economies, and gives government increasing control over private property. Now, the Democrats are playing this as something good for working class, middle class people. They're saying that if there's a control on the rent, that keeps it low and, keeps it from not raising, of course, for these middle class families. But it has another side to it. Take a look at what is happening in New York City. This is clip 3.
So this is one of 100,000 vacant apartments in New York City.
Wow.
I first made this video 6 years ago thinking, okay, the following year they'll renovate it and it'll be occupied, but 6 years later still vacant. And there's about 100 other apartments like this that are vacant because of this rent law that was passed in 2019.
What's the law?
So essentially this is a rent stabilized apartment and the landlords can't increase the rent of the apartment because of the law that was passed. It's not in there, it doesn't financially make sense. For example, the law used to be you can increase the rent 1/40th of the renovation cost, and now it's 1/116th. So if they put in, let's say, $100,000, they can barely increase the rent. So they're like, I'm not going to do that. It doesn't make financial sense. I'll just let it sit vacant. Let's say they did renovate this apartment and they increased the rent a little bit. It would still be rent stabilized and it would make their building less valuable.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Can you even sell this place?
It doesn't have the most value right now. I'm sure it's at some point the law will change back and you'll be able to renovate it again. But right now, this is just going to sit vacant until the law changes. New York City becomes more and more unaffordable every single day because more and more apartments become vacant. People move out and then they're not being renovated.
Wow. And see, but a lot of people, I know people who hear rent control and they say, oh, it's such a great idea. But it actually is not. Nicole, what are your thoughts there?
You know, trying to control prices in a capitalist society is asinine. Let's just do that, right? So what's going to happen is just what he's saying. People who have made the investment to buy these properties and rent has been set at a certain amount of money. I'm not reaching in my pocket to fix up these places to pour more money on an investment that I'm not going to see a bigger return on. That's the American way. Everybody wants to invest, but that investment's going to have to pay off at some point. It's like Zamdamit saying that they're going to have government grocery stores, city-funded grocery stores. Well, where do people think he's going to get the money to fund these grocery stores if these grocery stores are designed not to turn a profit? They'll be closed inside of a month. The food they have won't be worth eating. You know, you can't run socialist ideology through a capitalist filter and come out with something good. It just doesn't work. It just does not work.
No. Yeah. Yana, you've spoken about this a lot in Russia. I remember talking about how you had, buildings and structures that they would start the repairs and then they weren't completed. How does that connect with what they're doing here with this rent control?
It's the same thing. And actually, Thomas Sowell, he has a whole chapter on rent control in Basic Economics in his book. And he goes into detail explaining why it doesn't work. I mean, one that we saw from this video, it just doesn't make sense for landlords to repair anything. Why would they spend money on repairs if they're not going to get profit? So every building that is rent controlled is going to get dilapidated, is going to fall apart, is going to have all sorts of issues. And we see that in cities that has rent control buildings. They're disgusting. They have pipes that are breaking. They have mice. They have also ceilings that are leaking. It's constant. Also, another issue with rent control, and that's been going on in New York, where let's say somebody is living in a big apartment that is the rent is controlled, they're not going to move out, even if it's just one person living there. Because why? It's great rent. So then every city that has rent control has shortage of buildings, of housing. Because of this issue, it's not normal. People are not moving as they normally should and not freeing apartments that could become available for someone at a normal price. So in the Soviet Union, that's, we've lived through that. We had shortage of housing the entire time of when the Soviet Union began until it ended. It was shortage of housing. And these people like Mamdani and the Somali guy, Fatah, he and the others, other socialists here, they're so nostalgic for the Soviet Union. It's amazing to me. They still have this perception that is some kind of utopian world they're going to create. It's sickening.
Yeah. Yeah, Shelley, what are your thoughts on that whole idea of rent control?
Well, it doesn't work, and it hasn't worked. There are examples, a plethora of examples of the government in general. When you try to control something, when you don't have the right incentives for the market, the businessman, it's going to fail. Basically, you become a product, or I'm sorry, an employee, if you will, of the government with your own business, your own time, your own labor. So the government basically owns your business. It tells you what you can do, when you can do it, how much you can charge for whatever you do, and who you can or cannot exclude or include into your property. Hell, that's called open borders for the most part. So we might as well open up the borders, open up your farms, open up your backyards, open up your homes, and just let everyone in. That's what it ultimately is and what it does. Why do we keep allowing this? Why do we keep voting for people like this? Why? Because there's a class of people usually at a lower socioeconomic scale who need to be, or who the government needs to keep feeding these lies and feeding all of these freebies off of the backs of the other Americans who are working. I think, let me just take a little segue. I think it's a lie, at least I'm coming to understand that it's a lie that Americans won't work in these so-called lower end jobs. No, they won't work for lower than whatever the rate is. No, they won't, and they should not. And I think Bachia Ungar Sagar talks about this. Americans should not be expected to take $5 or $10 an hour job working on farms. We should not. We are better than that. We should pay people whatever the level is, whatever the market demands, at least to have some dignity to work. Right. So I think I'm coming to see that that's a lie, that Americans won't work for that. If you pay people right, whatever the market dictates or whatever, then they will work. Most 99.9%. Will there always be some? Absolutely. But that is a lie. I think it's a lie. It's if you want to call it a communist lie, a lie of the devil, whatever. It's a lie. I'm beginning to see that more and more. But nevertheless, when the government owns you, owns your labor, that is what we call Marxism. Okay, when the government gets to tell you, a landowner, apartment owner, employer, what you can do and charge or not charge for use of your time, your property, that is what we call Marxism. It's called government owning the means of production.
Yeah. After and speak going back to where this guy is from, Minneapolis. I mean, after BLM riots and the whole defund the police chaos, the city is really vulnerable right now. And these radicals like Fatah are seizing their moment. So if he wins, expect total transformation, economic control, moral collapse, and erosion of national identity. Same as NYC, New York City. So, folks, I mean, I know I saw in the comments, some people were saying, these cities are just done for. They're these blue cities, there's no saving them. But what do you think is going to happen once they control the cities? How long before they come for your town? We got to stop them. We can't just concede the cities, folks. The cities, as always have been, is a major nucleus of most states. The cities are that area. We cannot concede these cities. We have to stand up and fight back against this Marxist plan. It's plain and simple. So this is how far the left, this is how they gain control, city by city, one radical policy at a time, until they are coming to your rural town. Okay. So we got to stand up now. We got to hold the line, stop them where they are. And if you agree, like, comment, and subscribe to stand up against the socialist agenda before it spreads.
Can I add one little point to that? KJ?
Yes.
This is something else that as Americans, we should always be 2 points. We should always keep our eye on. When they talk about the birth rate, how many children are being born, these Somali born, or these children born to people who are historically from Somalia, they're having babies left and right, left and center.
You're so correct, Nicole.
If you think for 1 second it's just going to be, contained to Minnesota, it's not. They're coming for us. They're absolutely coming for us. They're already playing the call to prayer. on speakers broadcast across the town, but you can't ring the church bell.
So
Let's
just
do
to
that.
comment on that, like I said, I've grown up. I went to high school and college with these Somali kids that are now trying to run the country. And let me tell you, each family had about 10 children.
No,
I'm not.
Yes.
No, I'm not
They
joking.
are.
Yes, they do.
10.
They are making
Yeah,
babies.
they do have a lot of children. Yes.
No, I'm not. Like, I'm being 100%.
No, we believe you.
Serious. My
Yeah, they
friends
do.
that I went to school with had 9 siblings at home.
Yeah, they do. And can I say this, Nicole? You made a point earlier about they're coming for us, and we're going to be wearing the burqas and the hijabs. Let the record show. Mark this day, July 14th, 2025. Shelly E will not be wearing a burqa or a hijab. No, I'm not. Hell freaking no.
Well, Shelly, if it comes to this, if it does come to this where we are taken over by Sharia law,
I will go outside naked.
We're gonna fight.
I will just be. I will be stoned like Soraya M. That movie. I will be stoned. I will not. I think it is degrading when women. I don't care what country. When women, particularly when you have to, and let alone what's Diddy's dumb wife name? She puts it on whatever. But when women are made no less by law, they have to cover themselves. That is degrading. It is dehumanizing. It is basically as if you are not even a person, let alone in person. Shelly E will not be wearing one. Okay, not.
And I know we at the end we're losing time, but is that how they see women in the burqas, or is it because they want to? Is it because men want to protect their women from
KJ? Come on now.
Other eyes. I'm just curious. I really am curious about that.
That's what they say. They say, it's a respect thing, so men don't ogle women. But have you seen their men ogle women? The burqa doesn't stop, and you could put a woman inside of a refrigerator box, and they would still be whistling. And if the problem is not the woman, the problem is his behavior. But because they see themselves as perfect and us as accessories, they don't get it. But here in the United States, we better get really, really serious about this differing birth rate. I'm not saying everybody should jump out and have a couple of babies to get that Trump money. I'm not saying that. But I am saying they are having children at an alarming rate. And those children will migrate across this country, and they're going to bring that particular restrictive part of their religion with them.
I'm torn on that. I'm torn because, personally, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with that. But, everybody with their faith, their religion, do what you want to do. But, and that's where I fall on it. I thought that it was a situation where they have these women dressed in these burqas because it's something where they feel as though the women need to be covered for modesty. And so they're wives. And
even if that's the case, why would they get to determine that? Even if that's the case, why would they get to determine that that's what? It's
not them. That's the way their religion preaches. That's what I'm saying.
Why would they get to determine that? Even if that was one of the ancillary ideas, why is it that they get to decide and determine that? And if the woman doesn't do that, then she gets to she has to go to jail, get stoned, beaten, whatever the case may be.
Oh, is that the case then? I didn't know that. Okay.
I want to comment first of all on what Nicole said. Also, great point that they have lots of children. So besides them just bringing up the birth rate, imagine they're also all related. So like they have 10 children, then those children get married, they have children. The parents have siblings, also 10 of them. And so in the Middle East and Africa, where these people are from, they're all related. And so they will support each other no matter what.
Yeah,
like they have the strongest familial ties that we can't even imagine what they have, because literally they have aunties and uncles and cousins everywhere, and they marry their cousins. That's another thing. They're so tight knit.
Yeah.
And in terms of covering what KJ asked, so if it's a law, so like in the countries where it's the law, then yes, women are literally forced to cover.
Okay.
Now in America, it's not a law, but what they are doing in certain countries, and I don't know if Minnesota already has something like that, but they have neighborhoods where they'll actually have signs that if you're entering this neighborhood, I know they have that in London, I believe. If you are, regardless whether you're Muslim or not, if you're entering this neighborhood, you have to be, covered. You have to be dressed a certain way.
Mhm.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, folks, we have been bringing you the meat, the potatoes, the vegetables. We've been bringing it
The
to you
gravy,
all
everything.
right, the all night. Now is the dessert. This is actually dessert for me because it's just so funny. The leftist loonies. Okay, this next clip for you guys. These people are losing their minds, folks, and it has to be something in the water, something in the jab, something has caused these nuts to just lose all of their minds. I'm starting to believe that maybe they've gotten to the point where somehow they're excreting it out of their behinds. A little bit of their brain oozes out every time they poop and pee because it's something is going on. Take a look at this next clip. This is clip 4.
Fresh because it just happened, but my wife and I just went to the grocery store right by our house, just to buy like junk food and stuff, because we're really tired. Just wanted some sweet treats. And we were walking down an aisle, and there were like 2 guys that walked up next to us. Peyton like walked away, my wife walked away for just a second, and they were like snickering to themselves or something. And I didn't really think much of it. So I'm just looking at the candy aisle trying to decide what candy I want. And he walks by and gets like inches from me and just rips one, like farts like this far from me. That's disgusting to say. I can't even believe I'm having to say this, but he did. And about that time, Peyton walked up, like didn't witness what happened, but like seconds later, and I'm like upset, and I follow after him. I was like, is there a reason? You were just so disrespectful to me. Called you a bitch. Come here. And he never felt so dehumanized.
Not only did he fart on her, when she confronted him, he said, just walk away, you fucking bitch. And apparently a girl, wonderful lady who stood by, witnessed the whole thing, said they walked around the corner to her aisle away from us and called us fucking gay bitches.
Right before I walked up. Mm-hmm. So he calls me, he's like, just go away, you fucking bitch. You were staring us down. You were staring us down. I was like, I was looking at the candy. What are you talking about? And he's like, we saw you staring us down. And I was like, no one was staring at you. And then Peyton was like, hey, just let's go. And I was just about to turn. And he goes, yeah, just get out of here, bitch. And then he goes, bitch, like with both of his hands up here, and kept calling me these names, right? So at this point, I don't feel safe. So I walk away. This lady who witnessed everything, she walked away with us. And we go to customer service. And this is Albertsons, putting y'all out there. This is Albertsons, by the way. And go to the customer service to be like, hey, this just happened. I was just disrespected in your store and called names like several times. And the security guard went and talked to him, came back, and they all just kind of looked at us and was like, well, can't y'all just leave? Is this a standard for society? I will never shop at Albertsons ever again.
Oh my God, I don't feel safe because he farted. What's wrong with these people. What is wrong with them? Shelly.
Okay. I'm going to say something. I want all of you, all of you church folk, you mild ears out there. I'm going to say something that's going to be a little sassy, edgy. I'll say edgy. First of all, everybody wants their name up in lights for anything and everything. I don't even know why she had to make a video. But secondly, I thought you crying about that man ripping one on you. I'm crying because you slurping another woman's pussy.
That part.
I said pussy. I didn't say it out. I'm crying because of that. Whatever.
Oh my God, Nicole. What's going on?
She's such a delicate flower. I mean, she's never had someone fart near her before.
And that girlfriend queefing all over the place.
First of all day and all night. Okay. But what really bothered me is that she went to the customer service desk to report someone farted and then called her a bitch because she was in his face about farting. People fart at the Safeway. They fart everywhere. Doctor's office. Farting is a part of life. Most people fart about 14 times a day. There's lots of farting. She farts. The girlfriend farts. The cat farts. Everybody farts. Does it move you to tears? Does it bust your little bubble? I'm telling you, that one needs a burqa. She's going to be one of the first ones. One of the first ones in a burqa. She has no backbone. No backbone whatsoever. And if this is what, is quote unquote middle of America now, we're in big trouble, folks. If she's that offended by a fart.
Yeah.
Apparently she's had no brothers. I'm going to say that. No uncles, no cousins. She doesn't know any men because farting is what they do. Make no mistake.
Right. I mean, what does she do when she just hears the noise? That sometimes that's a noise that. Well, go ahead, Yana. What is your?
Did he blow the back of his pants off? I mean, what happened there?
That whole exchange. The more I listened to it, I was like, "This is what you would hear from I don't know, 10-year-olds."
Yeah.
10-year-old girls and boys who are just boys are being nasty, and the girls are disgusted, and then they go and complain, and then the adults are like, well, why don't you just walk away from the boys, and they won't bother you anymore. But no, they wouldn't. And so this whole thing, oh my gosh, it's just so silly. And if the guy did it on purpose, I mean, that is disgusting too. I mean, okay, they're lesbians, but it's still disgusting if someone does that. So I would, the whole thing is pathetic, and I understand why she was disgusted, but then I don't think she should have gone in front of his face and confront him because
to cry and then go to customer service
and cry to the whole world about it. Because and I actually don't for some reason with some of the things that we're saying, it just didn't seem believable when she said was it they told us you're fucking gay bitches. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like big dudes are gonna say that. They might say something else, but I don't think they actually said that. So again, I feel like these women are trying to get attention because of their sexuality. They are making it into a hate fart.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was, but they want it to be a hate fart.
Yeah,
it's a hate fart.
You heard it here first. This is the new thing. Jussie Smollett. Now we have these two are pushing out the hate fart. What in the world?
That is the weirdest thing. People are dumb.
It is. So we had to get a laugh for the night. And what better way is to laugh at the nutty leftists and the things that they do? I mean, this is ridiculous. So
people are gonna be farting on her from now on.
That's what I would. I would do that every time I called her. I would go out. Hey, what's going on?
Just make the noise.
Yeah. I was every time I saw her, I was jumping up. Hey, That's what I would do it all the time. That's all I did. She would be crying, probably ban me from family functions. None of pictures would go on without gas being passed. Okay.
Someone should get her one of those seats. Those
when she sits down.
No, she needs the real thing, real wood, real natural gas. Oh my God!
So disrespected by the fart, girl. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right, folks, that does it for us tonight. Guys, thank you so much for watching. It's good to laugh about some of these things sometimes because we talk about a lot of hard issues. We talk about a lot of, conflicting issues, especially with this whole thing with the Epstein and within MAGA and stuff. But guess what? We're all still solid. We're still here. We're still MAGA. We're still, pushing for Trump and truth. We're pushing for truth. We're not here to tiptoe around that either. We're here to call it out, break it down, and burn the lies to the ground. So if you're tired of the media spin, if you believe in faith, family, and real freedom, then this is your home. Hit that like button, share this video with 5 freedom-loving friends, and subscribe to the channel. We're charging towards 200,000 subscribers by Labor Day. And with your help, we're going to blow past it. So let's build this movement. Let's turn up the heat. Let's go viral with the truth. All right. So don't forget, folks, tomorrow at 6:30, you can catch the All American Talk show at All American Talk. They're going to be bringing you the latest in news for tomorrow, of course, from a conservative perspective. So that's tomorrow at All American Talk. You got to check them out. And then we will be back on Wednesday night, Poppin' Politics, right here, Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Of course, we have our other shows on here, Just the Guys podcast on Saturdays, and then at KJ Christian Conservative on Thursdays, me and Michelle, and we're bringing you the latest on the gains. We're bringing you the latest on, what was their names? The gains.
Chip and Joanna.
Yeah, Chip and Joanna. We're going to break it all down. We're going to bring our reaction. I think it's going to be much more, it's going to be a shocker than what you guys think. So definitely check us out on Thursday when we're talking about what happened with Chip and Joanna Gaines. All right. So that does it for us tonight.
Thank you, Laura, for $2.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you, Laura says, I love you, ladies. Great show. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your super chats. Want to give a big shout out to the moderators, the S-Files. Who else is a moderator? I think S-Files is only moderator here tonight.
Kung Fu CJ.
Oh, yeah, Kung Fu CJ. Yes, thank you.
$5 super chat. Thank you.
Yes. Kung Fu CJ says, you are right, Shelly. Abbott shut down the Muslim city in Texas. Yes, indeed. He did. Any more super chats? Did I forget anything? Okay. Yep. Kung Fu CJ says, that's right, Yana. This is how slum lords are created. Thank you so much, Kung Fu CJ. We certainly appreciate you. And each and every one of you guys for sticking with us, watching tonight, sharing it. We really appreciate everybody, and we will see you on Wednesday. So until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.